Hey guys, Marco the dog trainer here. Today we're going to talk about my two favorite e-collars when it comes to training Boston Terriers. Now, Bostons for the most part stay within the same kind of range of size and weight, but I have worked with some that are very, very tiny, and I've worked with a few that are a little bit on the chunkier side. So my general recommendation is going to be the Dogtra 280C. I think that that really fits the whole spectrum very, very well. Now, there may be a few times that I may deviate and go to the Dogtra IQ Plus for some of those really, really small guys that are only like 7 or 8 pounds full grown. But I would say the majority of the time I'm going to be using the Dogtra 280. Now, the main difference between these two collars is just going to be the strength of stimulation and the distance that the remote connects to the collar. So why don't we take a look at both of the models so that way I can kind of walk you through everything you need to know. Okay, guys, we've got the Dogtra IQ Plus system over here, and we've got the Dogtra 280 system over here. So let's just start with some similarities. So both collars are a very, very similar size. I mean, the 280 might be a hair bigger, but not anything that's really going to make that big of a difference. Both collars are going to come with a strap that's probably longer than what you need. So most people are going to end up cutting off a good chunk of that extra collar. So it kind of fits their dog a little more appropriately. Both collars are going to have the adjustable contact points, so you can add longer or shorter points on to kind of fit your dog's fur. And both of these collars are going to be turned on the same way, that they kind of use this magnet system instead of an on and off button. So basically you just take the red dot on the back of the remote and you're just going to hold it up to the red dot on the collar. And that's what turns it on and off. They're both going to blink green, telling you that it's on and that it's charged. If they ever start blinking orange or red, that's how you know that the collar itself is starting to die. Now, as far as the remote similarities go, okay, they're both going to have some really similar options. So they both have a vibrate feature. So on the 280, it's going to be this front button, and on the IQ, it's going to be the P at the bottom. They both are going to have the Nick setting, which is going to be this Braille N on the side of the 280 or the top button on the IQ. And then they both have a continuous setting that on the IQ, it's going to be this kind of C in the middle. And on the 280, it's going to be this kind of blank button, the lower button. Now, let's start talking about some differences. So as far as the remotes go, the IQ, as long as it is charged, is always going to be turned on. The 280, you're going to have to specifically turn the remote on. Now, the next kind of big difference is the way that we can set the stimulation. So on the IQ, we've kind of just got this dial here that whatever level is above this light or whatever number, that's what setting it's on. So it's not very, very exact, but you can definitely get a sense of what level you've got it on, okay? Where the 280 has got this nice digital screen, so you can really adjust it exactly where you want it to be. So definitely a little bit more precise. Okay, now another thing that's probably good to note is that the 280 remote gives you a sense of the battery life on the remote, where the IQ Plus, there's not really going to be any indication that this is dying. The light will start to turn like red or orange whenever you're pressing it as it's starting to die, but definitely not going to have as much of a heads up on the lifespan of this one versus this one, or at least the battery life. Now, another key difference here is that the IQ system, the IQ Plus, always comes with the option to be upgraded to a second dog or a 2-dog system. So we've got collar 2, collar 1. So that can be kind of nice because that way you can just buy a second collar and hook it up to this system. And it's one of the cheapest ways to set up a 2-dog system. Where the 280 right out of the box does not come with that option, but you could, if you knew you had 2 dogs, they have what's called the 282. And that's a system that comes with a remote that has a couple extra buttons on it and a second collar. So that way you could use it as a 2-dog system. But let's say you have 1 dog and you already had the 280 and you're getting a second dog. Well, then you would have to call Dogtra and pay them, and you could send them the remote and they'll kind of fix it and add in a couple buttons for you. So that way you could buy a second collar to connect to it. Okay, now some other kind of key differences is the strength of stimulation. So 100 on here is not as strong as 100 on here. And then another big difference is going to be the distance that they connect from remote to collar. So the remote on the IQ Plus works up to 400 yards away. And then on the 280, the remote connects up to a half mile away. And before we wrap up, let's also talk about waterproofing, where the IQ Plus is really the only model Dogtra offers that has a limited type of waterproofing, where the 280 is entirely waterproof. And the last thing we'll talk about is the belt clip, where the 280 comes with the option to add a belt clip on, and the belt clip comes in the box. But you could also just use the lanyard if you prefer that. And the IQ Plus only comes with a lanyard, and there's no way to upgrade it with a belt clip. So that is pretty much everything you guys need to know about these two different models. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.